Real quick, before we get into a match, I just want to go on a rant and talk about why I think Wardogs is more important than what a lot of people are considering it to be. For three reasons. First reason is it's a studio that goes against the status quo of how game developers and companies are doing things. They're not trying to get 100 million total players registered. They're not trying to have 1 million concurrent players. I think that gaming companies don't understand is when COVID happened, people all over the world stayed home more, which only in turn grew the numbers of people that would get into video games. Certain studios had games explode, and they thought this was basically the new norm, right? So turns out that when everyone went back to normal life and was not just sitting at home all day, working from home or playing video games, the numbers that they basically guaranteed themselves no longer existed. So they based everything off of a false baseline. And with that false baseline, they made new studios, they hired new people. Maybe they didn't make new studios, whatever the word is. They basically increased the amount of money that they're going to be spending, and that's not sustainable because the player base was artificially inflated, essentially, in my opinion. A few years ago, EA said something along the lines of single-player games basically just aren't the move. Shortly after that statement, they released Jedi Fallen Order, which was exactly that. It was a single-player game. And I believe it sold well enough to grant a sequel. So that kind of proves the fact that single-player games aren't the move is a false statement. The thing about single-player games as well as multiplayer games is they just have to be good games and they'll sell well. Bulkhead is very aware that they're not here to kill other titles. They're filling a gap in the gaming market, which not only do they want to see be filled, but there's other players, including me, that want to see that gap be filled. Which leads me to my very next point. This is also completely my opinion, but from the outside looking in, there's a good chunk of people that make video games today that's kind of where their enjoyment stops. They make a game, they had fun for 3 or 4 years of making the game, it was so much fun, and then once development is done, they're on to the next thing. And I get that's how it works, but they don't take the time to play the game that they just built and made for 3 or 4 years or whatever the development time is. In my opinion, back when there was a lot of developers that enjoyed playing video games, they were able to improve and come up with new ideas. They made the game, then they played the game that they just made, and then they asked themselves, how can we make this better? If you make video games and don't truly enjoy playing them, how do you think you're going to know what people want out of a certain video game? Sure, you're going to have some basic idea of fun, but that's pretty much it. You're not going to be able to sit down and tell me why certain systems from this video game work really well in this type of game, and then systems from this game don't work as well in detail. You're not going to be able to sit down and tell me that, man, this game that we're making, I really wish that we could take systems from this game and put it into this. Again, this is all from the outside looking in. I don't make video games. To me, Bulkhead seems to enjoy making video games just as much as they like playing them. That is a studio that we need more of, in my opinion. Imagine if there was a chef that loved cooking, loved making food so much that he made it his full-time job, but yet he doesn't eat his own food. That doesn't make any sense at all. How are you going to know if your dish sucks? How are you going to know if you need to add a little bit of this flavor, or maybe you need to dial something back because this flavor is too strong, or whatever it is? I'm not a chef. You're not even going to know if your dish is even good. What comes to mind when I think of people that enjoy making video games, like Bulkhead, as well as playing them, is modders. Modders and mods have been around for a long time, and I don't think they're going anywhere anytime soon. I think they're going to be here for a lot longer. People that make mods do not have the money or the resources that studios have, but what they do have is they have a love for the game that they're playing. So much so that they create something that they want to see in a particular game. They enjoy the game, They want to make the game better, and they have the know-how to do that. Now, Battle Royale, the genre, can basically be attributed to one main game, and that game's called PUBG. I know it's not everyone's favorite, and everyone has an opinion on PUBG. So do I. And it's definitely not the first Battle Royale. But I think it's hard to argue that PUBG put Battle Royales on the map and basically paved the way for games like Fortnite and Warzone. The thing about PUBG is it basically came from a mod. Someone loved playing an Arma game so much that they modded it and it spawned PUBG, essentially. Long story short. The last reason, really quick, is a very cliche reason, but it's the honest truth, is Wardogs is just something new. They've taken ideas from Arma 3, Armor Forger, and other FPS titles, and they've made it more accessible, as well as put their own spin on it. And the FPS space is not what it once was. I'm not saying it's dying. I'm simply just saying that the landscape has shifted. BRs are not what they once were, and in my opinion, player bases from the two pillars of Battlefield and Call of Duty, they have conflicting opinions on how each other's game should be played and all sorts of that stuff. I obviously have an opinion on Battlefield and Call of Duty, but that's not what this video is about. This is about the fact that Bulkhead has stepped out of their comfort zone and they're taking a risk with not only the game that they're building, but how they're advertising it as well. Other developers will follow suit in trying something new, and we just don't even know it yet. I want this game to succeed, not just because this company really enjoys making video games and playing them, but because their idea is actually a really good idea for a video game. In this day and age where developers constantly go back on what they've said, only time will tell with what Bulkhead does. But their track record so far seems to show that they could be the good ones. Sure, they won't be perfect. No company is. But all things are pointing to this company not being the typical video game company that we have. I haven't even played the game yet. Closed beta is in less than a week as of recording this video. Whether you like it or not, this game needs to succeed and be everything that the developers have said that it's going to be. Not just because there's players counting on it, but because there's developers out there right now that are watching this that are going to be basing their next move off of how this game is received and how well it does. Long shot, but if anyone from Bulkhead sees this, good job. Congrats on the game. You guys are refreshing to have in the space, for sure. And we're excited to see where you guys go in the future and what you guys have for us. But all that being said, I don't know. I don't know anything about video games. I just play a bunch of them. Thanks for clicking on the video. I'm Twinkle Toes, and I'll be around.